Hi, my name is Meaghan Brennan. I've been the intern working with the Office of Historic Preservation this summer, and I've been doing an oral history project of the Buckhall area, which is about 10 minutes east of Manassas. And today we're recording in the Williams Ordinary in Dumfries, Virginia. Just to give a look into what my summer has been and the research that I found. I started off my summer with doing some broad reading about the Prince William County's history to give myself a foundation to build my own project upon. I then turned to the experts about oral history, reading their recommendations and their guidelines, and thinking about how important oral histories are. I then began my own research, starting with archival research at the Relic Room at the Manassas Central Library, and then from there I cultivated a list of questions to ask the people that I interviewed, including questions about their family background, what it was like growing up in Buckhall, role models that they had in the community, and any controversies that might have happened. I then took a list that was generously provided to me by Kathy Clark, who is the secretary at the Buckhall United Methodist Church, and started calling community members. After we would talk on the phone for a little bit, we would set up a time to meet, and then we would go to the Buckhall Church, which was usually a pretty convenient location for them. And I would set up my recorders, and we would just have a conversation. Oral histories are essentially the passing on of stories to the next generation. And in my case, I was recording these conversations. That way we could preserve these stories and preserve the way of life that existed in Buckhall for future historians. And after I would interview people, I would then take the recordings and transcribe them. That way they could be made publicly available. For context, about an hour of recorded material takes about 8 to 10 hours to transcribe by hand. Moving more into some of my findings, my first main finding was that Buckhall was largely a rural and agricultural part of Prince William County. People would recall stories of casual encounters with horses or of a bull just walking down the street. One man, Frank Moore, told me a story where he was driving a tractor at the age of 6. So most people in the community were doing some level of farming, both with crops and livestock, just for themselves and their families, maybe for a small profit, but most worked in other sectors, including mechanics, working for the government, or working at a slaughterhouse. Then the building that I was recording in was the Buckhall United Methodist Church. The building I was in was built in 1905, with later additions being built in 1988 and then 2007. And some people reflected pretty deeply about the role of the church in their lives, and as a community gathering place for special events. The next major theme of my research was the Buckhall General Store, which was run by Hallie and Charlie Cornwell for a number of decades. The people I interviewed fondly recalled Charlie giving them pieces of penny candy when they were children, or Hallie being able to look at all of their grocery items and being able to tally up the cost in her head. After the Cornwells, the store was then operated by Tom and Robbie DeLavello. They were the ones who popularized the slogan, "You can find it all at Buckhall Mall." You might have seen it in the 1980s through 2000s as it graced bumper stickers, hats, t-shirts across the county and even as far as Japan. Most people fondly recalled stories of angry customers who were coming in from out of town, who thought they were coming to see a mall and then were pretty disappointed by a small general store, even though the store did have quite a bit, including busts of John Wayne, bait, sandwiches, jeans, and even a color TV. Buckhall community has changed a lot since the 1940s. They were specifically impacted by the arrival of IBM in Manassas in the 1960s, which just increased the population greatly, and then the building of the Prince William Parkway, which diverted traffic away from Buckhall, and so they had a lot fewer visitors, and the store lost most of its customer base. The community still exists, but a lot of it has been bought up for residential and commercial development, but a lot of the strongholds are still there. The Office of Historic Preservation is working to document historic communities in Prince William County, and one of the ways that we do this is through oral history projects. To see our past oral history projects, you can look under the Historic Communities page on our website. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, and follow us on social media.